They didn't even wait for the lawyer to sit before they struck. She will get nothing. Dad hated her. My sister Karen's words cracked across the room like a whip the moment I walked in. No greeting, no nod, not even a glance of recognition, just a sentence aimed straight at my chest. I felt Eli's hand in mine, small and warm, trembling even though he tried to hide it. I squeezed back, thin smile plastered across my face, but he knew. He always knew. Uncle Rick chuckled from his end of the table, leaning back like a king in his chair. "Even her kid knows she's worthless," he muttered, as if my son wasn't sitting right there, as if he was an object, not a child. Eli's eyes dropped to the floor. My heart cracked deeper. Around us, cousins and old family friends looked away, their silence louder than Rick's insult. I led Eli to the farthest chair, wood creaking beneath me, as I sat my boy climbing beside me, trying to fold himself into invisibility. Karen turned her head toward me, then her lips curved in a smile painted with poison. "You know this is pointless, right?" she said, cool as glass. "Dad rewrote the will. You're cut out completely. He said you were dead to him." Her words landed like a blade, but my tongue wouldn't work to answer. I only nodded as if I understood, though inside I was screaming. Why had I come? Why did I still crave some shred of acknowledgement? Maybe I had believed foolishly that there would be something, a note, a line, a sign that my father remembered me. Instead, I sat in the one place I swore I'd never return, surrounded by people who had buried me long before they buried him. When the door creaked open and Mr. Connor, the lawyer, entered carrying a thick folder, the room hushed instantly. He looked the same as always, neat suit, tired eyes, a face that gave nothing away. He began reading, voice flat, the language of estates and definitions and formal declarations filling the air like static. Karen leaned back with satisfaction when she was granted the family home. Rick smirked wider when the lake property and shares were his. A nephew I barely remembered got the vintage car collection. Each gift was another stone piled on my chest. And then the line I dreaded. "As previously declared, my daughter Julia will not receive a portion of this estate." The words slammed into me like a door shutting forever. My chest burned. Eli's small fingers slipped into mine again, grounding me. I tried to swallow back the lump in my throat, but the whispers around the table carried easily. "Karen smug, told you. Rick's cruel, takes a certain kind of person to walk away from her own father." My eyes fixed on the wood grain of the table, swirling patterns easier to face than their faces. Why did I come? Why did I hope? And then quietly but firmly Eli moved. He let go of my hand and sat up straighter. His voice, small yet unshakable, cut through the room. "You forgot the video he recorded." The room froze. Karen blinked. Rick stopped smirking. Mr. Connor looked up, pen hovering midair. I turned to my son, confusion and disbelief colliding. "What video?" I whispered. But Eli wasn't looking at me. He looked straight ahead, calm, certain. From his backpack, he pulled a small white envelope, edges worn, my name scrawled across the front. But beneath it, unmistakable handwriting. "For the lawyer only if it gets ugly." My father's writing. The air changed. My heart hammered so loud I thought they could hear it. Eli placed the envelope gently in front of Mr. Connor, who hesitated only a moment before breaking the seal. From inside, he slid a USB drive and a single-page note. His professional mask cracked just slightly as he read. He announced a video message from Charles Thomas, recorded before the final version of this will. It was sealed with instructions to be played only if matters became contentious. Karen scoffed. Rick grumbled. But no one stopped him when he connected the drive to his laptop. The screen flickered, and suddenly there he was. My father, older, thinner, sitting at the old oak desk I remembered from childhood. His hands folded, his eyes looking straight into the camera. His voice, tired, human, spoke two words I thought I would never hear again. "Hi, Julia." I couldn't breathe. "Hi, Julia." Two words so simple, yet they cracked something open inside me that had been sealed for years. I stared at the flickering screen as if it were a mirage, afraid that if I blinked, he would vanish. My father leaned forward slightly, the lamplight casting shadows across the lines of his face. He looked frailer than I remembered, yet his eyes, blue steel that once terrified me, were softer now. "If you're watching this," he said, voice gravelly, It means I didn't find the courage in time, and for that, I am sorry. The room shifted. Karen's smirk wavered. Rick fidgeted with his cufflinks. My pulse hammered as I felt Eli's hand slip back into mine. My father continued, I've made many mistakes, too many to count. I pushed Julia away when I should have held her closer. I believed the lies I told myself about what family should look like, and I punished the one child who wouldn't bend to my pride. My throat tightened. He was talking about me. Every word dug into wounds I thought had scarred over long ago. I let others convince me she was ungrateful. Selfish, he said. But I see now that what she is strong. Strong enough to walk away rather than keep bowing to cruelty. And I mistook that strength for betrayal. Karen shot to her feet. This is ridiculous, she snapped. He was senile. Sit down, Mr. Connors said sharply, more command than request. For once, Karen obeyed, cheeks blotched with red. The video played on. To those of you in this room, my father said, his voice hardening, you may think you've won by cutting Julia out. You've whispered behind her back, laughed at her pain, treated her son as though he were invisible. But blood doesn't make you family. Love does. And Julia gave more love than any of you ever deserved. The words landed like thunder. Rick shifted uncomfortably, muttering under his breath. A cousin avoided my eyes. My father reached for a folder on the desk. He lifted a page, held it toward the camera. This, he said, is an amendment. I made one that I knew some of you would fight to bury. That's why I left this recording. The page bore my name, my breath caught. I leave to my daughter, Julia. He continued, the trust fund originally set aside for her education, which has grown over the years. I leave it not because of obligation, but because it is hers by right. And more importantly, I leave her my apology. Julia, I cannot undo the years I let slip away, but I want you to know I never stopped being proud of you. Even when my pride kept me silent. My vision blurred. Tears streaked hot down my face as Eli squeezed my hand tighter. See, Mama, he whispered. He didn't hate you. On the screen, my father leaned closer. And Eli, he said, making my son's eyes widen. I know you may be watching too. You remind me of the best parts of our family, the parts I lost along the way. Take care of your mother. She deserves the world. The recording ended there. The screen went black, leaving the room in stunned silence. I couldn't breathe, couldn't move. It felt like the world had cracked open, spilling both the poison of years past and the faint glimmer of healing. My father was gone, yet his voice, his confession lingered in the air like a ghost. Karen was the first to break. This changes nothing, she hissed, though her voice shook. It's not legal. It's not. It is legal, Mr. Connor interrupted, his tone like iron. He held up the page that matched the one in the video. Your father filed this amendment. Julia is to receive the trust. Karen's face crumpled with rage. Rick slammed his palm against the table, but I sat frozen, Eli's arms now around me, anchoring me to the moment. For years I had been the outcast, the scapegoat, and now with a few words and a trembling video the story was unraveling. My father hadn't been the monster I thought, or perhaps he had been, but in the end he tried to make it right. Either way, the balance of power in that room had shifted, and nothing would ever be the same. The room didn't explode all at once. It cracked, hairline fractures racing across faces and postures before the break finally came. Karen's chair screeched back, the sound scraping up my spine like a blade. No, she said, shaking her head so hard the curls whipped her cheeks. He can't do this. He told me, he promised me. Her voice thinned into a ragged whisper. Across the table, Uncle Rick folded his arms with theatrical calm, but the vein in his neck pulsed like a warning light. Mr. Connor closed the folder with a firm click. It's done, he said. Your father's directive is clear. The trust belongs to Julia. Over my dead body, Karen spat, but there was a tremor in it now, a wobble that betrayed something raw beneath the rage. She turned on me, eyes bright with years of hoarded grievances. You left. You left him when he needed you. You don't get to sweep back in with a sob story and take what I earned. I felt Eli's shoulder press into mine. I kept my gaze on Karen. I didn't leave. I said quietly. I was pushed out. You all made a sport of it, and even when I was gone, you kept beating me like a drum to rally the family. My voice surprised me, low, steady, unafraid. I never wanted this room. But I won't apologize for being remembered. Rick snorted. Spare us the martyr act. You always were dramatic. He leaned forward, lacing his fingers over his stomach. Let's talk about what's really going on. Charlie was slipping. Everyone saw it. For all we know, this video is old, that amendment conjured up by Mr. Connor to line his own pockets. He shot the lawyer a pointed look. Attorneys get sticky when estates get big. Mr. Connor regarded him with the flat patience of a man who has seen every ugly variation of grief. The amendment is stamped and recorded, date and time, witnessed. If you'd like to contest it, do so in court. But I warn you, Mr. Thomas noted in a separate memorandum that any attempt to contest would trigger a review of disbursements and consultancy fees paid out in the last 5 years. He slid another document from the folder, specifically those associated with your lake property maintenance company, Mr. Rick. A hush fell so hard it felt like a drop in air pressure. Rick's lips parted. What is that supposed to mean? It means, Mr. Connor said, unblinking, that your brother kept better books than you thought, and he suspected someone close was siphoning. A forensic audit was requested to be executed upon. Rancor. Every pair of eyes swung to Rick. Even Karen went still, confusion and fear tangling in her expression. He laughed, a sound with no humor in it. This is absurd. I watched something I'd never seen before, a shadow of panic ghosting across Rick's practiced smirk. My chest tightened, not with triumph, but with a cold recognition. My father had been cruel, but he had also been vigilant. He'd left traps where he feared there'd be predators. He knew us too well. Karen rallied, reaching for higher ground. So what? So maybe Rick made a mistake. That doesn't change the truth about you. She stabbed a finger toward me. He cut you out because you were poison. You humiliated him at Thanksgiving, remember? You called him a bully. I told him I couldn't sit through another dinner where my son was invisible, I said. If that's humiliation, I'll choose it again. You always had to be right, she hissed. And then, as if some dam inside her split, the words tumbled out, frantic, ugly, desperate. You don't know what it was like after you left. He missed you, and he hated that he missed you. He took it out on me, on everyone. He drank, he threw plates, She choked on the last word, eyes going glassy, and it landed in the silence like a confession. He hit the table, she corrected, too quickly. He wasn't. Eli flinched. I pulled him closer. The room shivered on the edge of a truth no one wanted to hold. Mr. Connor cleared his throat softer now. There's one more item in the memorandum. Mr. Thomas asked that a letter be given privately, to Karen. He slid an envelope across the table. Karen stared at it as though it might detonate. Her name was inked on the front in my father's hand. Read it, Rick said too fast. She opened it with shaky fingers. Her eyes darted, then stilled. The color drained from her face. When she finally spoke, her voice had lost its edge. He says he was harder on me because I was the one who stayed. He says I learned to throw stones at you because it was the only way to be safe near him. A small sound broke from her throat. He says he's sorry. The ceiling fan hummed. Someone's chair creaked. I felt the burn of tears at the corners of my eyes and blinked them back. Sorry. The word was a fragile bridge over a canyon that had swallowed years of us. Did it reach? Did it hold? Karen folded the letter with reverence I'd forgotten she possessed. When she looked at me again, her face was stripped of armor. Why didn't you come back? She asked, almost a plea. When he got sick. Why didn't you try? I thought of nights with the phone in my hand, of messages drafted and deleted, of memories that smelled like whiskey and winter, and the way my name could be turned into a weapon with a raised eyebrow. Because every time I got near the house in my head, I said I could hear him laughing at me for needing him. I didn't know there was still a man there who could apologize. I swallowed. And because you told me if I showed up again, you'd have me arrested for trespassing. Karen flinched, shame carving new lines into her face. Eli shifted, his small voice suddenly clear in the stillness. He said he was proud of my mom. He reminded them as if he were pinning the room to a single dependable star. That means you all don't get to talk like she's trash. There they were. Again, his 7 words from earlier turned into a longer truth. You forgot the video he recorded. He had not only remembered me, he had anticipated the cruelty that would follow my name even into death. Rick shoved back his chair. This is a circus, he snarled. I'm not sitting here while you all rewrite history. He pointed at Mr. Connor. We're contesting. And you, he jabbed a finger at me, you won't see a dime. Try, I said, surprised by the quiet steel in my voice. Do what you always do. I looked at Mr. Connor, and proceed with whatever my father set in motion if they do. He nodded once. Karen sank down, letter trembling in her hands. When she finally spoke again, it was to the table, not to me. I said awful things. I said he hated you because it was easier than admitting I was afraid. She raised her eyes. I don't know how to be your sister without hating you first. It was so honest my breath caught. Maybe we don't start with sisters, I said. Maybe we start with not lying. She nodded, a single halting dip of her chin. Mr. Connor gathered the papers, efficient as ever. Distribution will proceed, he said. And to honor Mr. Thomas's explicit wishes, I'll see to a counselor for the family should you choose to accept it. He hoped you might try. No one moved. I reached for Eli's curls, smoothing them back. I felt wrung out and strangely weightless, as though morning had left my bones but not yet found a new home. As people rose, faces dazed, Rick stormed toward the door. Karen lingered, clutching the letter. She approached us in small, uncertain steps. Eli, she said, voice fragile, I shouldn't have let them laugh at you last Thanksgiving. I shouldn't have laughed myself. She swallowed. I'm sorry. Eli studied her with a seriousness beyond his 8 years. Then don't do it again, he said, the same mercy he had offered a stranger at a wedding once in a story I'd told him about bravery. Karen nodded, tears threatening, and retreated. I stood, legs unsteady, and looked down at the empty chair where my father should have been. I hadn't forgiven him. Not yet. But part of me, small and stubborn, had put down the stone it had been clutching for a very long time. The room emptied in uneven waves, some eager to escape the rawness of what had just unfolded, others lingering, as though afraid to step back into ordinary life after truth had detonated here. I stayed seated, Eli curled against me, his head heavy on my shoulder. My body felt carved from stone, but my heart was thrumming like something alive and dangerous had finally been let loose. Mr. Connor gathered his files, his professionalism intact, though I caught the flicker of sympathy in his eyes. He slipped me a small envelope. Your father left this for you as well, he said softly. It isn't part of the will, just words he wanted you to have. He didn't wait for me to open it. He simply adjusted his glasses and walked out, leaving me with the weight of paper and years. I held the envelope but couldn't yet bring myself to break the seal. Instead, I looked around at the long oak table, at the ghostly outline of my family seated in their old positions, laughing, jeering, judging. The ghosts were louder than the living had ever been. Karen lingered at the far end, her father's letter clutched to her chest. She looked suddenly small, stripped of her armor, the queen bee with her wings torn. For a long moment, she just stared at me. Finally, she whispered, I don't know if I hate you or envy you. Her lips trembled. Maybe both. I didn't answer. Some things didn't need answers right away. Eli stirred, lifting his face from my shoulder. Mama, he said, are we still part of the family now? The question stabbed deeper than anything Rick or Karen had said. I brushed his hair back, kissed his temple. We've always been a family, I whispered. Just us two. And no one can take that away. My voice cracked. But maybe tonight proved we're not as alone as I thought. We walked out together, the winter air, sharp snow crunching under our feet. The courthouse lights cast long shadows, and Eli squeezed my hand tight. He looked up at me, his breath clouding in the cold. You know what Grandpa said? That you were strong. That means he saw you. My throat closed, hot tears burning my eyes. For so long I'd lived under the story that I was nothing, the exile, the failure. But my son's words and my father's final confession shifted something tectonic inside me. Seen. Not worthless. Not erased. Seen. Back home, after Eli drifted into sleep, I sat at the kitchen table with the envelope. My hands shook as I tore it open. The letter was short, only a page. Julia. I know I cannot ask forgiveness. I don't deserve it. But if you can find it in yourself to believe one thing, believe that I was proud of you. Proud of the fight in you, the same fight your mother once had. I was too weak to face it then, but I see it now. Take care of Eli. He will grow with your courage, not my mistakes. Dad. I folded the letter carefully, pressing it to my chest. I didn't know if forgiveness would ever come, but I knew the anger that had once consumed me now had somewhere to go. Maybe not gone, but lighter. When Eli padded out the next morning, hair-tousled pajamas too short at the ankle, I pulled him close and whispered, "You saved me yesterday." He frowned. "I just told them about the video." "You reminded me I wasn't invisible," I said, "and you gave me back my father's voice." His small arms wrapped around me, fierce and sure. "Then we're even, Mama. You always give me mine." In that moment, I realized the inheritance that mattered most had nothing to do with trusts or houses or cars. It was the courage to stand the love that heals, the truth spoken even when voices shake. That was what my son had given me. That was what my father, too late but still, had tried to leave behind. So if you've ever been laughed at by the people who should have loved you, if you've ever sat at a table where your name was only a punchline, hear me. You are not defined by their cruelty. You are defined by the love you choose to give, and by the voice you find when silence has buried you too long. If my story resonated with you, please like this video, share it with someone who needs courage. Subscribe for more heartfelt stories and leave me a comment. Tell me, have you ever found your voice in the middle of betrayal,